asked them to have the case called that day. And then when that did not work, I pleaded with them. Remember, I was not vice president. I was an intern. So, yes, I pleaded. And finally, the judge returned to the bench and reviewed her case. And with a pound of his gavel, she was free to go home. And she would go home to see her children and take care of them. And I never did get the chance to meet that woman, but I will never forget that moment. And I share that story to say that we have all in our lives, from the earliest stages of our lives, had those
Kamala Harris
moments
talking outside of Georgia at the New Birth Church, after which she'll be participating in a Souls to the Polls event. We'll continue to monitor her speech there. Good morning from Phoenix, Arizona. It's Sunday, October the 20th, 16 days until Election Day. Crunch time on the campaign trail, and the candidates and their surrogates are out in full force all over the country. I'll be joined here in a few moments by Arizona Senator Mark Kelly and Congressman Ruben Gallego, who's running for Arizona's open Senate seat against the Trump ally, Kari Lake. With just 2 weeks to go, early voting's ramping up in many states, and Kamala Harris's campaign is turning its focus toward boosting enthusiasm and turnout. Yesterday, she was in Atlanta, Georgia, where early voting began last Tuesday and shattered records. More than 300,000 voters cast their ballots on the first day alone. That's double the old record for first day early voting. And according to the Office of Georgia's Secretary of State, as of last night, nearly 1.3 million people have already voted across the state. Women represented more than half of those early votes so far. And during her speech in Atlanta last night, Harris spoke about abortion bans and how they've upended lives, not only in Georgia, but all across the South. This will be the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. And there's a lot of interest in how potent that issue remains across the nation. A new set of polling results released just this morning by NBC News suggests that it's still affecting many American votes. 52% of those surveyed said that they are more likely to support a candidate who supports a federal law restoring abortion rights nationwide. The vice president will continue get out the vote efforts in Georgia today, which also happens to be her 60th birthday. After attending church this morning, as you just saw, she's going to participate in a Souls to the Polls event in which people who attend church then go and immediately vote. We'll bring you live coverage of that event as it happens. By the way, Georgians are not the only ones who are heading to early voting sites in large numbers. Another important swing state, North Carolina, also reported record early voter turnout in the past week. More than 350,000 people cast ballots in the first day of early voting on Thursday. A big Democratic name was on the ground to kick off early voting in Nevada. The former president, Barack Obama, stumped for Harris in Las Vegas last night to urge people not to sit out this year's election. It seems many Nevadans have already received that message loud and clear. There were long lines at some early voting sites yesterday, and as one voter told the Nevada Independent, quote, the stakes are the highest they've ever been. There may be another reason why we're seeing record turnout already. Many Republicans have cast doubt about the validity of mail-in and early voting in the past couple of election cycles, but they've changed their tune this year after some members of the GOP raised concerns that all the smack talk about mail-in voting was depressing Republican voter turnout. This time around, Republicans have noticeably been encouraging people to take advantage of whatever early voting option would be most convenient for them. Even Donald Trump has told supporters at his rallies to go out and vote early, but one of the many problems with the Republican nominee is that he's often not disciplined enough to stick to that message. Last night, he began his rally in the all-important state of Pennsylvania with a 12-minute story about the golf legend Arnold Palmer and how he was, quote, all man, which is an apparent reference to Palmer's genitals. Just a moment ago, Harris's running mate, Tim Walz, commented on the Trump rally last night.
I don't know if you saw the off-the-rails rally by the former president last night. The closing argument is veering into territory that even me, who, 24 years in the military, I learned some colorful words. I'm not even quite certain where to go with some of this right now. But look, the options are very clear.
In the past week, his campaign events have been largely defined by his Trump's campaign events, by the way, have been largely defined by his behavior and his unhinged remarks, like proclaiming himself the father of IVF and calling January 6th, quote, a day of love. While polling trends continue to show that this presidential race remains extremely close, Donald Trump's behavior could also affect Republicans in down-ballot races, especially as he's actively attempting to rewrite the history of January 6th. NBC News' latest poll shows that voters are a lot less likely to support candidates who say that Trump won the 2020 election. That could be a factor in a number of races across the country, including right here in Arizona, where one of Trump's staunchest supporters, Kari Lake, is running for the Senate, though she's still not conceded her loss in the gubernatorial race back in 2022. Arizona has largely been a Republican stronghold since the 1950s. It's only voted for the Democratic presidential nominee twice in the past 70 years, and most of its senators have been Republicans, too. But that changed in the Trump era, highlighting just how much the former president has upended the politics of Arizona and how he continues to jeopardize the GOP's electoral chances this year. Joining me now is the Democratic senator from Arizona, Mark Kelly. He's a member of the Armed Services and Joint Economic Committees, as well as the Select Committee on Intelligence. Senator, good to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me on, Ali.
One of the reasons why Arizona continues to be a critical swing state is because Arizonans are directly affected by so many of the top issues in the election this year. It's a border state. You've got a 15-week abortion ban in effect here, but you've got Prop 139, an abortion vote to enshrine abortion rights. It's a state where Donald Trump's election denialism really took hold, and it's a state where people are concerned about the economy. I would love to know what kind of conversations you're having with people as Election Day approaches.
Yeah, it's about those issues. This abortion ban, I mean, it's the one we have today. We had an 1864 abortion ban for a while given to Arizona women from Donald Trump. I mean, he talked about how he broke Roe v. Wade. That's why we wound up with that 1864 ban. Now we have a 15-week abortion ban with no exceptions. It is harming women in our state significantly. They're having to flee to other states to get the reproductive care they need. You also mentioned being a border state. We had an opportunity to really fix this problem the way it's supposed to be fixed through legislation. Donald Trump killed that legislation with Senate Republicans. They were about to vote for it. We had the votes. He told them he was pretty straightforward about it. He said he needed this for the campaign, so it was killed. That really hurt Border Patrol. Border Patrol pay didn't go up. We couldn't hire more Border Patrol agents. We didn't get the fentanyl detection machines that we needed to stop illicit fentanyl from coming through our border and killing our citizens. That was done by Donald Trump. So those are the issues that Arizonans are thinking about. And because of that, there's incredible enthusiasm for Kamala Harris in this election. We have 120,000 volunteers. We've got 200 paid staff, 19 field offices. Barack Obama was just here in Tucson a couple days ago. The amount of enthusiasm in this 2024 election is sort of off the charts. And for that reason, and because we have a better candidate and they have in Donald Trump somebody who's unfit and unstable, I believe Kamala Harris is going to win Arizona. She's going to be the next president.
Let's talk about immigration. You just mentioned the bill that didn't happen. A lot of your colleagues in the Senate, including your fellow Senator Kristen Sinema, came really close to that bipartisan bill, which, you know, and Arizona is a great place to talk about this because it was not perfect for everybody. There were a lot of Democrats who didn't like some of the things in there. There were a lot of Republicans who didn't like some of the things in there. But it was going to move the discussion about the border a little further. It was kept alive as a potent election issue. Every time I'm in the car here in Arizona, I just hear nothing but ads that have to do with immigration. This is a perfect example of a problem that was getting closer to being solved that was not solved by Donald Trump and his lackeys in Congress. How do you move forward with a topic like that?
Well, I think what's unfortunate here is the misinformation from the other side. You know, some of my Republican colleagues saying this wasn't good legislation. We had the votes. I mean, dozens and dozens of votes from Republican senators. And then the former president, Donald Trump, just lying about what was in the legislation. There was money to build infrastructure. This legislation was supported by the Border Patrol Union. They wanted it. Sheriffs in southern Arizona wanted this legislation. It was wildly popular, you know, here in the state until Donald Trump woke up one morning and told Senate Republicans to walk away from it. They ran away from it, not all of them. A few of them just stuck there because it was the right thing to do. James Lankford, who was the Republican senator who negotiated the legislation, very conservative guy, He got a deal that Republicans had wanted for years. This was not meeting them at the 50-yard line. I mean, it's Sunday, so I'll use a football analogy. This was not meeting them at the 50-yard line. It was like on the 10-yard line on our side of the field, defending the goal. I mean, that's what the legislation, how it was looked at. There were a lot of popular things in there for me. I represent a border state. These were, key components of a plan that we needed to strengthen our border security. But because Donald Trump, it's now been delayed. Kamala Harris said she will sign this legislation. I think when Donald Trump is gone, after he loses, we're going to bring that legislation back. We're going to get it passed. We're going to get it to her desk in January. She's going to sign it. Border Patrol pay is going to go up. We're going to hire more agents. We're going to get those fentanyl detection machines. We're going to build the infrastructure we need.
Joe Biden won Arizona by fewer than 11,000 votes. It was 0.3% of the total votes. But from a numbers perspective, it was the closest, the closest margin in 2020. Polls suggest it's similarly close this year, and it's likely going to come down to voter turnout. There continues to be concern that young voters, men of color, are not as engaged with this year's election, and that could be a problem for Democrats. What are you seeing in terms of enthusiasm and turnout?
Well, whether it was with Kamala Harris in Glendale a couple months ago, 15,000 people in a stadium, or about 4,000 or 5,000 for President Obama here in Tucson, a smaller community, the enthusiasm is off the charts. I was at the University of Arizona a couple days ago meeting with students. They're really excited. Some of these are first-time voters. They know that the next president is going to have an effect on their lives much longer than the rest of us, than you, than me, than seniors, the issues that they care about. Climate change being one of them, women's reproductive rights being another, the economy. I mean, Kamala Harris has a plan, like a real solid plan to bring down the cost of housing, increase pay, help with the price of health care and education. Donald Trump has nothing. I mean, he literally does not, he can't even say he has a plan. All he says, he has a concept of a plan. I mean, right. I don't even understand what that is.
It's been many years of all of us thinking about health care, but he's got a concept of a plan. Senator, good to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning. The Democratic Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona. All right, still ahead, I'm going to bring you more of my conversation with a group of voters in this crucial swing state of Arizona. They've got different backgrounds, different priorities, and different motivations to vote, but they all agree that this election is critical, and Senate seats are up for grabs in Nevada, New Mexico, and right here in Arizona. With a slim majority in the chamber, those Southwest races are critical if Democrats want to maintain control of the Senate. I'll speak with the Democratic Congressman Ruben Gallego on his run for the Senate seat here in Arizona. Right now, Governor Tim Walz is in Saginaw, Michigan, attending a church service at Victorious Believers Ministries in Saginaw as part of a slew of campaign stops. Later this afternoon, he's flying to the East Coast for events in Massachusetts and Connecticut.
That's my line. There's no place like Target to shop everything wicked.
Not seeing results with just hair supplements? Nature meet the power of science with prescription hair treatments. Through hers, you can grow visibly fuller hair in 3 to 6 months, thanks to doctor-trusted prescription ingredients combined with high-grade vitamins and supplements. So whether you chew, pop, or drop, you can see and feel the difference with personalized treatment to support healthy, thicker hair. Grow fuller hair with clinically proven ingredients.